So I'm Daniel St. Martin. I'm the technology manager at Theta Technologies. My role involves talking to customers and understanding their requirements to see how our technology could fit their applications.
So we're focusing specifically on the medical industry here. There's been a improved adoption of additive manufacturing within that space. But let's start at the very beginning. In terms of parts that are destined to be implanted into individuals, why is part inspection so important for that?
Part inspection is crucial for the medical sector because the cost of failure on a part implanted on a human body is very high. There is the individual involved will go through a process that is not wanted. From the manufacturer's perspective, that's something that is to be avoided at all costs because it will bring reputational costs to them, litigation costs that they will try to avoid. And therefore, ensuring that parts are of the highest quality and the risk of failure is as low as possible once they are deployed and used in theater is of the highest possible priority for all the stakeholders in the medical industry.
And what are the consequences of parts failing?
The ultimate consequence of part failing is patients needing the parts to be removed, the complications that come with that, so the subsequent operations that need to happen. Then from the manufacturer vendors or from the vendors or manufacturer perspective is the litigation costs that may come from parts failing while in use, and those can be very high as well.
What are the current part inspection methods that manufacturers or medical scenarios using to actually inspect the integrity of these parts before they're implanted?
So there is different methods used. First is to prove the quality of the materials being employed and used. This is done based on tensile specimens. There is a reason for that, and it's because tensile specimen standards date back several decades because they were using for traditional manufacturing methods. But everybody knows that they are not representative of part quality for additive manufacturing components. So that's one way of qualifying your materials. Then in terms of the AM parts themselves, X-ray radiography is something that is used during the development of the parts that helps that new processes as they are implemented to identify flaws within those components, but it cannot be tailored to a high sufficient rate once you get to production, unless it's simplified only to regions of interest. And then optical inspection methods, where essentially you have inspectors looking at components under high magnification optical microscopes and looking for surface breaking flaws on the parts. So those are the alternative methods that are most being used at the moment.
So where can nonlinear resonance help the medical sector in particular when it comes to their part inspection?
Yes, so the way that nonlinear resonance can help is that resonance responses can be obtained from the medical devices themselves rather than relying on tensile specimens. So you can obtain information about your materials and your processes, how uniform they are using our method. And those are, this is information that you can obtain based on the medical devices themselves. Also, you can use our technique to check whether you have critical flaws on the structure, things like cracks or lack of fusion flaws, which the way this behaves is by making your process uncontrolled, and that's something that we can pick up using our nonlinear resonance technique.
In terms of part failure, certainly within medical, where can those parts actually begin to fail? Mm-hmm. Can they fail from the very start, right up until the point of actually being implanted into people? Where are these part failures likely to happen, and can nonlinear resonance help identify that throughout the process?
So the first point of failure is on the parts after build. There could be stress features that could be added to parts, not purposely, but stress adding features could result in things like cracks developing on parts. So that's the first stage where flaws can happen. Then during the heat treatment processes, parts are stress relief, and flaws can happen at that stage as well, where stress raising features can lead to cracks propagating on the structure. And then finally, after machining the part, when the support structures are removed and the part is machined into the final product, some of those processes are still quite manual, and there is an opportunity for things not to go according to plan, and that's where some of the failures may occur.
So your final message to medical companies, whether that be the manufacturers or the actual end user, what would be your message about why nonlinear resonance should be on their radar as a part of inspection?
Nonlinear measurements can be obtained from the AM devices themselves. So that's the first one. That's very important because it means that we are not relying on tensile specimens or test structures built alongside the build that we know that they are not representative of part quality. And that, in addition, has the benefit of freeing up a space on your build, which allows you to produce a larger number of parts that otherwise would have been possible.